have done mostly supporting people after the suicide has happened. And so that's not what I ever wanted it to be or ever intended it to be. So the mission of Ben Speaks what it's been for the past many, many years. And it takes time to get to a mission and where we really want it to be. But we're here to provide positive channels of expression and empowerment for a whole person approach to wellness through clinical and holistic resources and education to bridge the gap between the two and really look at all people as whole and come from that whole child approach. Mike, if you could go to the next slide. So here we are 16 years later, and we are finally in a place where we're bringing a very incredible and special program into schools. Getting into schools for any nonprofit is very difficult. For any organization, it's very difficult. And so the fact that we're actually entering into schools is a pretty big deal. And I want to tell you a little bit of a story about how we came to Ben's Challenge. I spoke in schools for the first many, many years with what's called the power of choice and helping kids to realize that no matter what you're dealing with in life, you do have the power to choose. And then 3 years ago, I got a call from a person, and he's in the audience tonight, and he's become my partner in Ben's Challenge, and his name is Jason Shea. And Jason is the wellness director for the state of, I always get that wrong, he's the wellness coordinator for the state of Massachusetts, all the police and first responders. But he was Ben's trainer when he died, and he was a huge influence in Ben's life. He took Ben under his wing, and Ben was a kid who was being bullied by the athletic kids mostly, and you know, he really struggled. And Jason was one of a very small handful of people who really made a huge difference in his life. And he called me out of the blue, and he said, "Judy, I know we haven't talked since Ben died, but he came to me in a dream. And he asked me to reach out to you and tell you some things," and he did. And the result is that we are now bringing 8 wellness challenges into high schools with the power of choice. We just started with Milford High School. We actually started in Bellingham Middle School. We learned some things, but now we're in Milford High School. The principal brought us in to talk to their special kids. They're kids that are in the higher students, the kids who are more the leader types in his school, about 40 kids. He said, if you can sell this to them, then we'll move it forward and they can become a leadership team. You can train them, and we'll bring the whole Ben's Challenge to all grades next year, and that is happening. Woo! We said that's awesome. And because I can't see because of the lights, Jason, I don't know if he can stand or if he can at least raise his hand, and you all can just kind of, Jay, where are you? Around, kind of the message that we're sending through Ben's Challenge and into schools, because what we want to do is we want to create an environment where all kids thrive and where the leaders become a hand up instead of a push down. And, creating a collaborative community instead of a competitive community, which is what we see so often in so many of our schools. And the result is that the Bens get pushed down and they're falling through the cracks in record numbers. And I can tell you, I know this firsthand. You all know the statistics and you all know what happens in your worlds. But I have a grief recovery specialist today. Just this past 7 weeks, I facilitated 10 mothers in Metro West who have 4 of them have lost boys to suicide this past year. 6 of them to fentanyl. Like, this is serious stuff. And so we really want to encourage and enroll kids in high schools and maybe middle schools to become the leaders and become the hand up to their kids. And so I'm going to share with you one of the analogies, and this is why you've got a coffee bean tonight. But this is a great analogy, and Jason brought this to me. We added it to our presentation in the schools. And so the story goes like this, and I'm just going to tell it to you very briefly. A boy named Abe, a student in high school, went to his teacher, and he said to him, I'm really stressed. And he gave him all reasons that he's so stressed, that he's losing his mind. And his teacher said to him, I'm going to have you do something for me. I want you to go home tonight, and I want you to boil a carrot. And he did, and he came back the next day. He said, what did you notice? He said, well, I noticed that the carrot got really soft. He said, yeah. Life is going to get really hard. The water represents life, and it's going to boil over. It's going to get so tough, and sometimes it's going to feel so hard. But if you become too soft, you're not going to make it. He said, go home tonight. I want you to boil an egg. He did. He came back the next day. He said, what did you notice? He said, I noticed that the egg got really hard. He said, yeah. You know, a lot of people, they start out soft, then they start to get really hardened to life. And they, you know, become critical and they become isolated and they start to do drugs. And you don't want to become hard. You're not going to make it that way either. He said, tonight I want you to go home and I want you to boil a coffee bean. And he did. He came back the next day, he said, what did you notice? He said, I noticed that the coffee bean changed the water. He said, yeah, that's right. Be a coffee bean. That's a beautiful thing, right? Awesome. So that's why we're all here tonight. We're all here to be coffee beans. We're all here to change the environment. We're all here to become collaborators and to, as a community, come together on behalf of these kids who are falling through the cracks, as you know, we all know in record numbers today, and to stop the separation and bring people together. How does that sound? Yeah. Awesome. So next slide, Mark. So Ben Speaks has these 8 challenges, and the last of the 8 challenges is gratitude, so I just want to put the focus on that now. And then you guys can get the hook and get me off the stage. But Mike, if you can go to the next slide. So before I get to my board of directors, I want to also acknowledge the people in the house tonight that are part of the steering committee for Ben's Challenge. My sister Susan has joined that calling. She lost her husband right at the height of COVID to suicide. And Susan is on the steering committee. Dasha Videra and her husband Mike. Dasha is an amazing addition to that. I like maybe you guys to just stand or just raise your hand and let people know you're in here. Penny Young, Tyler Hall, that can be here tonight. Wendy Kelty, if you can stand for me, please. Wendy Kelty. So Wendy Kelty has been impacted by suicide and bullying. She has been a follower of Ben Speaks for the whole 16 years. She has opened many opportunities. She has been a sponsor every year for any of the events that we do. And on April 16th, on Ben's 16-year anniversary of his loss, we will be in Medway because of Wendy Kelty. She has rented the VFW there, and we are inviting anybody who wants to come and hear me and Jason speak and learn more about Ben's Challenge. There's flyers outside on the table. Please come register. We'd love you to be there. Thank you so much. And Jason's on the steering committee. Our board of directors. My son Michael's way up there, so he's not going to be able to stand, but if you're in the house tonight, I think they're all here except for Brian Giovangelo, but Brenton Torkelson is our site chair. If you can stand, please, Brenton, thank you so much. Mary Rowland is our secretary. She's been our secretary for probably 12 and 16 years. She's an amazing human being. We love her so much. She's probably going to be leaving us. We're going to be looking for a new secretary, but she's always going to be a part of us. Mary, please stand. She's a raffle person. Brian Bella, he's our legal chair. Brian is a tremendous asset for our organization. Bo Kinney is our business and strategy. He's our everything guy. And of course, Brian Giovangelo, he's wheelchair bound. He lives way out in the western part of the state. He's our treasurer. He's phenomenal. We're super grateful for him. So a hand for all of you, please.